Welcome to the Infinite Imaginarium. This is our community hangout. And today we have LeeTravis and Holly coming back to the Imaginarium. They've been working on this special project called N99, along with Tim from Life is People. It's a network for artists, by artists, and of the artists, cutting out the middleman, unlocking human potential. So come on and hang out with us as we discuss N99 and the Infinite Imaginarium. Going on with N99, I'll turn that into a little clip. So there's no pressure on it's a show or anything. It's just us catching up and hanging out. So for Lee and Holly, the other person in the room is Missy Nomer, who's a core member of Infinite Imaginarium. Lee and Holly are OG members of Infinite Imaginarium back when we first started, so it's good to have them back on. So Lee and Holly, how's everything going with your life and N99?
It's good. It's good to hear your voice and yours, Nikki, and
Missy Nomer.
Nice to meet you. Yeah.
Hi guys. I don't know if you're on my Minds list, but add me if I don't have you. It's nice to virtually meet you.
Absolutely.
Likewise.
Yeah. We are developing a platform for creators that is We Advance. I don't know if you follow We Advance on Minds.
Oh yes, I do. I love it. Thanks. Yeah.
So we went ahead and helped him work on getting a network built, and so we're probably pre-alpha stage right now. But you can go and sign on, and you can. Everything's pretty functional. Not a lot of things are turned on yet, like the ability to monetize your channel or the ability to monetize your uploads and downloads. And
can I ask you a question before you go on? Because I want to be sure to know what exactly N99 is.
Yeah.
I don't know what it is, so I'm really curious to hear all about it. But before you get into what it does, I want to know what it is.
Well, it's just essentially it's another platform, another social media network. It has all the same Minds does, almost. I mean, Minds has different functionality and different. Minds has got a different purpose. The purpose of N99 is more along the lines of content creators being, content creators in the sense of not necessarily like YouTube, but bands, music. Not as much memes, but memes can happen. There is a activity feed, and you can post anything. You can post YouTube videos. You can post anything from your computer. And
did you say content creator? That's fun.
So the website is N99online.net. HTTPS. So make sure you have the S in there in the URL because it is a secure site. Yeah, and all you do is sign up. It's free and begin socializing with the network. And we're really stoked to have Dan there, and he's bringing his Imaginarium channel to N99 as well. So that's awesome.
That's a lot of fun. I think my favorite thing about Minds is all the artists and trying to always say hello. Someone called me a matchmaker on Minds, but it's more like artists, bringing artists together. And I think that's great. A platform focusing on making content and stuff, and it's all kinds of content of all types.
Any kind. It doesn't matter what type of creator you are. If you want to have a network where you can post your work and share it with people, even if it's something that, especially if it's something that you feel that you want to get out in the world and you feel like you also need to make a living as well. There are ways for artists and creators to, once the network is fully functional, have an outlet to do that, to connect directly with people who want their art or want their creations. And right now, N99online.net, like Lee said, is in pre-alpha stage. So there are a lot of functionalities that are coming soon. But right now is the time where N99 is basically as a platform accepting 99 members to start playing around with the site and have fun and get to know each other, figure out the functionalities, get used to everything that it has to offer.
So to fly the flag for N99 here for a second, the things that make it a little bit different is the user ability to come on right now and help form the network in the way that we want to form it. There's like a merit system. There will be the seed, which is the cryptocurrency that Tim has created, and that will be part of it. In the rewards, there will be rewards that aren't like Minds points. They won't be given out in such quantities because they'll have different kinds of value, and it'll be based on how content creators get paid, and also critics too, because what we want is the ability for the people to bring in other networks, and for people that aren't creators but are critics of creators, so that we have quality content. And if a creator were to share their take on the downloads, it helps two things. It helps protect against copyright, because rather than people just coming on and stealing their content, which you can do on the internet really easily, they're actually the incentive is for them to share that content, and then they get rewarded for being able to share that content. So if a critic is well known and they have a big network, say Tori D has a big network that really appreciates his point of view, and whenever he recommends something, he gets paid if they download that stuff. And if he goes in and sees something that he doesn't like, he can say, well, I didn't like it, I give this review. Then the content creator gets, or he gets half his value back, and then the content creator gets half his value for the download. But then it gives the content creator a reasonable expectation of what people want, and the ability to go back to the drawing board and start to create things that the general public wants.
That's actually that's interesting.
I noticed that you guys have badges, or at least a placeholder for badges, and what was kind of your thoughts on that? Because I know we have had talks about badges and how they can represent certain things. And
so Tim has envisioned a system of merit, or order of merit, and the merit is got a different. I think there's 9 total, and they're just different levels of your involvement in the community. So say you're a really good writer, and you comment a lot, and people like your comments, so we can reward that and sort of send you up to a higher level as the community engages with you, and basically rewards you with merit. And so, as the community grows, there will be those that enter with barely any merit. They get a free seed point, and they get a few free things, and then they go in and they get credit for filling out their profile and commenting and engaging with the community by uploading an avatar and a background cover, and just doing things like that. They get a small amount of merit. And the more they do in the community, the more they engage with because we have a questions and answers section that is like like Reddit, and we have the ability to upload videos, and that's connected to it, and questions and answers and videos are all connected to a payment system. And so we have the ability to bring payments to the website, as well as crypto payments, and then the seed points, which we will reward. There's a really great possibility that they'll just be traded on an open exchange, and you will be able to take the value that you earn on our website to an exchange and change it for a different currency if you like, or just use it on the website. So those are some.
Wow, that sounds so fun. I have a question. I remember Bill Altman was mentioning something about this. I was talking about bringing over a network full of people. Like right now, do you have like a sign-up bonus for people that bring other people over, or a link that they sign up through? I'm just curious. I don't really mind either way. I would love to bring people to a new site. That's cool, especially because I know a lot of artists and whatnot. But I'm just curious about how that would work.
Yeah, okay, so there is a bit of a referral system that's built into bringing people that you want to sign up if they sign up. That is planned to be as part of the merit reward system.
Sort of a first come, first serve.
It is sort of, yeah, like Lee said, it's a first come, first serve kind of thing. But for sure, there's definitely meant to be an incentive for people who are bringing members that they want to be on the network with us, and that is planned to be a part of the merit reward system. Yeah, absolutely.
So the first testers of the merits will, everybody that's here, they'll be the early adopters, and they'll earn seed. There'll be a certain allotment for all the early adopters.
Yes, I see they're compensated for being a contributor early on, and that's really cool. I like that. Your business model sounds really cool.
And the other thing is that we don't really like to call it a business model because we're trying to make it a community-owned thing. So once it gets into a beta setup and it's on the safe network, which is the intention for it to be, so that all the data storage is secure, the seed will eventually be distributed completely to all the people in the network. And it'll be a completely network-owned system through the cryptocurrency. So that's the end goal and the end vision, is to actually give away all the seed.
Yeah, it's kind of creating more of an ecology of content. Like, this is something that Tim has been thinking about and talking about, and we have had a lot of different conversations. And it's cool that you two are helping build this, because I see a lot of the seeds of ideas that we were talking about on the Minds Panel show and Infinite Imaginarium kind of getting planted and seeing little sprouts of those come about. I mean, the system of badges and cryptocurrency and all that kind of stuff is really interesting to see how these different ideas will get to play. And I think that's pretty cool for in the beginning, that I think, the first 99 to play with it and to see really how we could keep this thing like a sustainable artist kind of community. At least that's, my hidden intention of being there. Well, it's always my hidden intention with anything.
Well, yeah, and you put that well, and we are really happy to be working with Tim on this. But you made a good point, and that is that it should be a network where you actually can benefit, and it's not just a bunch of noise and echo chambers, of posting things, but it doesn't really actually connect people. So what, and Tim's vision is consistent at this point with, what we're trying to accomplish too, and that is that he's always felt that it's part of the problem with that has always been there with artists trying to get their work out, is that they run into the possibility of middlemen that, you can call them what you want. There always has to be some sort of facilitation to connect people, but people can get in the middle that really kind of want to take too big of a bite. And so the whole point of it is that it is a useful network that doesn't just, play around with imaginary numbers, but that actually facilitates the connection between creators and the people who desire to have their creations, and at the same time connect people in a way that is a community. And like we said, it really is meant to be a community that is community driven, and the whole atmosphere of it is basically just knocking everybody else out that might tell you what to do or how to do it. But at the same time, people can really benefit from it. And Satori, you're absolutely one of the best examples I can think of for having content that really is, it's meaningful, it's enjoyed, and you should be rewarded for that. And so should everyone that has that kind of content.
Yeah. Another function that I saw that I kind of like, I forgot exactly how it's phrased, but it's like a network-wide chat. I think it's called the nervous system or the N99.
Yeah, Tim calls it the central nervous system, and
yeah,
one of the things that I've wanted to do back in the past was to build a network called Mad World, which is just chat, like a whole social network with nothing but chats and chat rooms, and but it, that's already been done, and it only kind of works if there's different facilities around it, such as like an exchange where there's a chat box and there's lots of people in it. But no network, no social network has that. The Facebook doesn't have like an immediate like public chat plus the ability to create your own room or any of that. So I thought that was something that makes going online not such a ghost town, because even when you go into Minds, you go to people's channels and you see what's new, but you can't talk to anybody immediately unless you see their little dot or you're their friend, and it may take a couple of weeks if you're new to find friends. And it's just a lot of work that you have to put in when you get to a website or a network right up front. And I think that it would be great if people could just come up to the network and it's not a ghost town and they're immediately meeting people. Plus, there's no really organic reach in any other way unless you can just see people on a public chat. They're there and you can click on their name and start chatting with them. And they can block you. There's filters, that you can block people, you can block content. There will be filters coming soon about explicit content and so on and so forth. So we're really focusing on the filter system and the ability to also be open to whatever you want to be open to. And yeah, I think organic reach is really the biggest idea or concept that no one really is achieving. Even with Minds and the boosting points, the problem with the boosting points is that if someone pays the $5 a month to negate the boosts, then there's no more organic reach. You can't reach those people, and maybe they don't want to be reached, but there's no advertisements going on. It's not a community chat isn't a place where you can like post a lot of stuff. We do have the ability to post like GIFs and images and things in the chat, but it's a community chat, and then some of it can be considered spamming, and then the community can use their merits and so on and so forth to police and community moderate rather than have moderators. So I think that's the key to getting on a social network where it's not just such a ghost town.
Yeah, definitely. I do like this whole thing about, when you were talking about the chat and when you guys were thinking about that. It kind of reminds me of early internet chats where you kind of like, you wandered in and you're like, hey, what's going on? And then like, oh, you're interested in this, and like, go to this chat room, or go to that one. And then you kind of like instantly started like my new favorite thing is find the others and create the weird. I've been hanging out in the Team Human, Douglas Rushkow's podcast, Team Human, in their Slack channel, and he constantly talks about finding the others. And it's this thing that Timothy Leary said, some lecture he was giving in Berkeley, some girl asked him, because she just took psychedelics and she thought she understood stuff about the world, and she asked him, what do I do now? He simply said, find the others. And then so we have I've been like playing with this idea. It's like, find the others and create the weird. Like sometimes we find the others, and this is kind of like these different stumbling things that I've been doing recently, is like trying to find the others, but also to create the weird, like create your own. I think something Robert Anton Wilson said once. He says, there is the conspiracy to take over the world and this and that, but that conspiracy is you and your friends, and kind of saying that you and the others can create that temporary autonomous zone of your own world, your own thing, and that is where that magic is, and that power. And I think this is something the more and more I do stuff with Infinite Imaginarium, is that I want to give people like, yeah, I like it when they watch our videos or they like our stuff, but it's not really about that. Like, I think the real power is when they create. Like, I think that's the real experience, is them creating content, them creating art, them getting like, oh my God, like I like that video, but I want to mash it up. Or one of my favorite examples is Signup. He's always, even though he life happens, and but every time I interact with him, we have like this ongoing, it's not even a battle, but it's this ongoing exchange poetically. I'll write something and it'll inspire him to answer back in like a poetic expression, and we have like this ongoing thing that we're always kind of like, he'll write something and then like my response is like a poetic response back to him. And actually recently I want to kind of mention this project that I was telling Nikki about, and it's called Disembodied Poetics, and I think you guys probably seen the first one that I did, and I want it to be kind of like this game. And I was telling Nikki, like, at first I'm starting off by giving Nikki a little bit of material, to work from, so she could like record it and then I'll mix it. But later I want it to be like you pass it on to somebody and they'll either mix. So it's like the cut up method of William S. Burroughs, of like your favorite poets or even your own work, and you kind of like record it and then I cut it up into whatever song that I find. Like for the first one, the visuals and the music came to me and I was looking for something to fit it and nothing would fit until I started like cutting up and remixing my favorite lines from my favorite kind of like poets or minds. And then it started all to like kind of like piece together. And I'm like, oh, this is fun. And then I was telling Nikki about my process. I'm like, hey, Nikki, you want to do the next one? And I'm like, I'll kind of give you a spark to try to see, you know, give you a couple of quotes and a couple of people that I think are interesting. But you could build off of that. And, you know, maybe you have a topic or maybe it's just like a continuation of this. And it's just kind of like...
it's like Exquisite Corpse, kind of. It's
Yeah.
fun. You could play it with like
with
photos
mimes,
or music
you know,
or writing.
mine's initially it was really easy to find the others, as you were saying, Dan, but it's got to this stage now with the boost function that it's becoming increasingly more difficult to find the others because your feed is full of all sorts of stuff which is dependent upon what people do in terms of how much they boost something. So you find yourself scrolling through endless stuff, possibly might not be any interest to you. So it's not a case of like a fluid way of connecting with people. And also, weirdly, this is kind of a contradictory thing. I've noticed as they've developed it, the boost function works a lot slower because there's a lot more traffic to get through. So it kind of depends on what order people they
what's worse?
Scroll through endless amounts of what they would consider to be crap, and they're not interested, and so they've just given up.
What about, have you guys noticed this, which I think it might be like one of the worst things ever, people yelling at people that are boosting, like some thread, I think it was poor Carolina, who's like one of the most prolific, beautiful artists, right, and personalities. People were complaining about seeing her something boosted at her, and I was like, let me get this straight. You're complaining, everyone here on this thread complaining at the artist for boosting their content. Mine's is definitely, that confused me. I was like, okay, that makes absolutely no sense.
So you can
personally, mine's has become a bit like YouTube, but like the new YouTube, or like all the YouTubers came across, and it just became this endless stream of it. Personally, in my feed, it's just this endless stream of YouTubers, you know, pundits, basically having an opinion on something, you know, talking about social justice warriors. You know, I get like an endless stream of different YouTube channels and their take on social justice warriors, and I'd be thinking, oh God, I'd get to sort of about an hour into it, and I think, oh God, I'm bored now. I'm going off of here because.
Yeah, so you know, the mines you can search. So the concept of mines is that you earn points by liking people and commenting and so on and so forth, and they give you free points every day and for signing in and for viewing the stream and stuff. So they have this incentive system, and you can use the incentive system to boost your stuff. And the problem with that I've found is that in my feed, I lose everything. So, you know, if they had one more section where it says in your profile where you have your videos and your images, it would also be cool if they had. So you can actually go back and see the stuff that, you know, like a lot of stuff I've written is just completely lost in time, and no one will ever see that stuff again. And
yeah, I find that
that's a big problem I think that Minds has, is that this content, that this massive amount of content that they have, which is searchable, and you can refer to it with hashtags and so on and so forth. But
when the hashtags work, see, that's how I was getting around it. And you're right, I was getting around it by grouping my content that way. Like, Missy No More Photos would go to my photos, Missy No More Clips would go to like videos, etc. And then suddenly it was like most days the hashtags were off or blank or missing.
Better content management system for their people, and that's one of the things that we're really trying to look at and address. And one of the things that makes a better content management system is simply like a library. I mean, think about it. If you go to a library, you don't have a problem with finding what you want, other than if it's not the library. But you can go to the card index and you can look and you can see there's sections, there's sci-fi, there's all this.
I think, Lee, that is the key to sustainability. If you can harness what you're talking about here, if you can get that fine-tuned on N99 network, it'd be perfect, because that's one of the things. I love Minds, but I'm rapidly going off it, and I barely use it now because of that very issue. It's just that I can't locate or connect, as Dan said, with the others, or the ones that I want to connect with.
Right. I'll say about Minds, like we're not trying to build N99 to replace Minds. In fact,
no.
We really want to integrate with Minds. Like we're working on the ability to have users from Minds just sign up with their Minds account, so that they don't have to, if they want to, if they don't want to have to rebuild another account for another site or whatever. And then the ability to share their content on our site straight to their Minds account too. So it's like, I don't feel like it's about it's not about like taking over one network, taking over another network. It's about networks, good networks, because Minds is a good network. And I really, I consider Bill Ottman my friend. I talk to him from time to time, and he's got a great network, and he's done a really good job for freeing speech. I don't know, how much speech is curtailed anyway by the man, because it is operated in the United States. And, it's all about, at this point in the game, what it's about. And every company that's building a social network, it's all going to be about the same thing when it comes down to freedom of speech. And the freedom of speech and sharing, and the ability to share from one network to another, and expand your networks and have networks sort of intermingle. That ability is really going to be our ability as the people to expand ourselves and to have a say, because it's not a competition, really. It isn't. And Minds has certain things that it offers, and I think Minds is really has positioned itself to sort of be the new YouTube, but with different stuff. And for those that don't like YouTube, they can come to N99, which is a little bit different. And we'll have the same scenario, except for our channels are sort of a different thing, where you can create. It's more like Vimeo, where you can create a channel and and have subscribers pay for your designs or your lessons, your video lessons, or whatever, and you can actually monetize your account in that way, rather than the old monetization way of the advertisement model. And I don't think that that's how Minds is actually addressing the video thing either. But I'm not sure exactly what the future holds for Minds in that respect. But for N99, we truly want to sort of just focus on organic reach, searchability, the ability to monetize your content, and the ability to also get paid to be a critic, to look at content, basically. And if you're a good critic, if you're a good content viewer, then you get rewarded as well. And so that's the big thing. And there's the rewards aren't just in points or seeds or cryptos. They're also, you have the ability to do it in your local currency as well. And we're working on language.
Yeah, I think searchability and archiving, like you said, like a library, is really important. Recently, I've been getting it. I've been writing more and doing my own kind of really heavy reading and this and that. But I go to the Internet Archive, archive.org, and I like there because you filter it out between if you want a video or a text, and you add in the name, and then it's really archived and categorized well, instead of searching on a search engine and be and you get all this kind of the first couple ones are just crap of advertisement, and then you have to dig around, and then you don't know how Google is trying to project who you are and give you what they think you want. But I was one of the first things I did on Minds and was called an open source library, and I had this same vision of the Internet Archive, but the Internet Archive have actually an open source library as well. And so I was like, oh, like, because we were having all these discussions, and I was like, oh, like, I think it would be cool if you could just tag in like an actual book or actual research instead of everybody kind of like yelling at each other or giving some weird links to like some other person's opinion instead of like some like actual like archive like research and like having actual good material to kind of like go by. And this is like something, you know, for myself, like I like listening to like these old lectures by like William S. Burroughs or Allen Ginsberg, and it really helps me to develop whatever I'm saying, to bring my content that has like depth to it. And I think, you know, something like that, which you guys are seemingly to focus on, because that is something, an oversight that mine's, that searchability, like, you know, you were saying, like, especially for us, Nikki, me, you, all of us who were early adopters of Minds, I would say like the first year of our stuff is like lost in space. There's like so much of our content that, you know.
Well, that's what I was going to ask. So you mentioned like a library, and then, you know, we keep saying searchability, but my question, I guess, would be, so yeah, it would be great, like, for example, if Minds had that option where you could scroll through your content based on, like, if they were videos or if it was, you know, like a text link that you wrote but the thing that I'm wondering is if it could have been avoided just in the upload process, if it was, like, you could just search your prior history of all the stuff that you've interacted with. Like, I don't understand how that's not integrated, but I don't develop the software, you know what I'm saying? But I love the idea of that. So I'm just wondering, what kind of searchability do you mean, or trackability for that? Like what kind of access to the library are you talking about?
Well, you better believe that there's a database there in Minds, you know, and somebody can search it, but the rest of the world really can't, and most importantly, you as the channel owner can't. and so, yeah, as far as searchability, you're right, is I think what you're kind of getting at is that that's a pretty broad term, but how do we actually narrow that down to where people can actually find their stuff? And you know, it's been our experience with a number of social networks, because I know we've all been on a number of them, where it's really kind of the same thing. You have a feed, stuff gets lost in the feed because it's sort of just an infinite continuous feed, and it just stacks one on top of the other on top of the other. But what we aim to do with N99, for example, and what we could see as an improvement with Minds, as we've talked about, is the ability to really just take a system to categorize those things further. Like, nobody's really taken the further step to make those things more accessible and stop the stack on top of each other feed thing that loses everything. Like,
enter the searchability that's in the CMS on the content management side of it.
Yeah.
I mean, any content manager.
That's why I was saying I'm exactly that. Like, I don't develop the software, but I used to work with like software developers and help them if I had ideas for the site, the admin site that I needed. So I know it's a matter of like, you know, how you're going to work that out, as well as how it's going to be accessible to people. I was going to say, did Facebook have the option to scroll through your history based on month or year or anything? Like, I cannot remember. Or is that just my old phone, like the iPhone, for example, where you can just jump around from maybe month to month, week to week?
They did. Yeah, they I don't know if they still do. I haven't been on Facebook in, oh gosh, few years.
Congratulations.
Well, and I can't say that with full sincerity, because we maintained a business account on there for a while and we check in on that. But yeah, I don't know if they still have that function, but they used to. So it's really generally answered by this, that it does have to, it's a lot easier to develop that from the start than it is to try to go in on a huge mainframe.
Exactly. That's exactly what I was asking, because what I was saying was, wouldn't it be easier to do it upon people's like uploads, like as it's built into the like how it tracks their uploads or whatever? Then they could search their, you know, prior, like even a keyword or a date or something maybe to track it. It seems like it would be easier then. Yeah.
So it's always going to be easier to just have that implementation at the very beginning and let people know how they can utilize it. If you're looking at a massive database like Minds has, they could do something to retrofit that, but that's at this point, it's just way easier to try to address that right up front.
Some of the work of the N99 people is to help design the community. So, that's the more that people actually work on helping, whatever their skills are, whether it be, population of categories on the front end, or, just other things other than just being on a social network. If you're more involved in building N99, then there's more reward. And that's part of it is that as a community, we have a poll system. So we really want to have people, talk about and vote on what the best kind of functionality is going to suit our community.
That's really cool, because I remember when I spoke to Bill, he was specifically asking me about, because I said I take a lot of photos, like thousands and thousands, and I want to take them off Instagram, and I deleted like my Facebook that had like 8,000 or more, 10,000 maybe photos. But it's frustrating because he was asking me, what would you rather see as far as the way they display? And, and it's just, I know there are a ways away from that, it is a matter of like integrating certain, I think, visually dynamic, like streamlined features, right? But also usability. Like, I want to delete my Instagram, believe me, and if there was a way to import all of my photos at once into, it'd be so easy. I would love that. But I'd really love to just get off of it because I don't believe in promoting that, their business model. And I think that there's certain features that are really obvious to me that are missing from Minds. So it would be really, really interesting to talk to you guys about that, as far as being like someone with a lot of photos and friends that have just the same problem, where they want to kind of transition, but they have everything invested in one site already. And interestingly enough, I'm always curious if new sites provide like an import your history library gallery type of feature, because that for me is something I'm always interested in.
So Missy Nomer, I can tell you there's just off the top of my head, through developing all of this, I've become aware of a few things that can help facilitate that. I won't spend too long on this because I don't want to get too sidetracked, but there are a number of services that are called cloud storage movers, and basically if you have a bunch of content on Instagram, they've made it so that you can use these. I know multi-cloud is one of them, and they're not things that hook straight to social networks, but this is something that I've contemplated as well. And so I wanted to answer that really quick, and we can talk about it more, but there are ways that you can take every single thing that you have on one, like Slack, for instance, and stick that straight in Dropbox, although I'm not a huge fan of Dropbox. But there's a multitude of other services that are even decentralized, that are free, that help you transport. But I'm glad I'm going to mark that because it's something that I need to keep on my priority list.
Yeah, because when you say transport, you don't mean like, because I mean like, okay, Instagram has a button where you can download your whole library or whatever. But you're talking about something different. Importing it into a new library, a gallery, is that what you mean?
Yeah, it's sort of like taking a cloud storage service and putting everything centralized into that, like everything that you have, and just taking it and sticking it all in one pool. And then as soon as you have it all there, it's going to be an evolving feature that, if people have a multitude of content. When we're talking about this in context of N99, there is only so much that a single platform can do to house people's content.
Well, that
right?
goes into a deeper
That's
subject,
kind of a different subject.
The ultimate goal for N99 is to actually be on the safe network, and what that means for N99 is that the client that uses the service, which is also an owner of the service, has also responsible for their storage, and that's what keeps the service a freedom of speech site. And when it's on the safe net, which it's right now on the clear net right now in test phase, and so everybody needs to be aware of that. We are on the clear net, so we have to obey certain rules, that are in the jurisdictions of all countries until we can get into a safe net, and every person that's on the network is responsible for their personal storage on the safe net, which means that they pay a certain amount of made safe coins or whatever for that network, that safe network coin, to store their stuff. So everybody has secure storage that's distributed on a safe network. And then our network sort of like the front end of that. It's the interface for the storage facility. And so, and there's the ability to distribute the actual ownership of the platform. So if anything goes down, and by the fact that we have filters means that anyone can filter the entire website for whatever. They can filter it all the way down to almost nothing. And then there's no censorship except for by the users. There's no government censorship or anything else. Just things get put on the platform, and then once they're on there, they're in the safe network. They're responsible. If somehow they're loose with their private keys and they get busted by some jurisdiction because somebody did actual police work instead of expecting tech companies to do the police work for them, then they might get busted. But other than that, it's a secure network, and that's what it should be. It should be that way because, aside from just freedom of speech in our concept in the Western countries, there's other places in the world that people need to say things, and they could lose their life for saying them. So they need to have that ability to have the security to be able to say things freely without threat of, the violence that could come down on them. So they could have that anonymous sort of interaction with the world. And that's really the whole point of any network, actually.
Yeah, we had that big issue with the Thailand 8. Actually, that got me blocked and banned from Facebook on my original account when I was doing that show and promoting that thing. So I guess we're coming around like 40, 50 minutes, but I know you guys said you had to go, but real quick, I guess a little bit of milestones. What do you think, or what's the game plan for it to be on Safe Network, and also to uploading the music and videos? Is that already functional, or?
So what we're doing is we have all of those sort of tracked, but what we're waiting to do is get more of a community so that we can get community involved in the way that those things are not structured, because that can be handled from the back end, sure, but as far as the way that the whole network comes together and how those functions are accessible and tracked, put into a library and all those things.
And within the limits of our ClearNet.
Sure. Right now we only have the ability to work within the ClearNet, atmosphere. And to a degree, we're sort of at the mercy of how quickly MAID and projects possibly similar to MAID are able to develop a safe network or something similar that is more distributed and decentralized. I do see it going toward something where, with storage, for an example, we're going to become more distributed in that way. In other words, certain networks might store a certain amount of content for us, but it's going to evolve to where we actually sort of are more responsible for, all of us are more responsible for that ourselves, and you either pay to have that kind of storage, or you provide your own storage and help pay for it that way by providing it to others. In terms of milestones, like I said, we're sort of at the mercy of the development of the base networks that we're going to be housed on. But at the same time, right now, the community is developing. We've got a certain amount of members. We'd like to see more members get that membership up because certain functions of the network depend on things being populated, like our forums and things like that. So
payments are coming in probably a few months, and downloads can happen now, but the payments associated with downloads aren't available at this time. But we're hopefully by the end of the year.
I love that you said you need it to populate, and that's such a good point. Like it's true. You really need it, like, content to populate in order to see how it's working and interacting, and that's awesome.
It is funny too that there are certain functions that you really can't see exactly the full scope of their function until things are populated. So, but like Lee said, by end of year, we'd like to have payments integrated with people and the ability to upload their content and get paid for it if they choose to. And then there's just a whole host of things, but that's really kind of a big emphasis. That's what we're focusing on now.
Are there like certain skill sets and things that you want people, to bring to the N99 table that would be key to progressing? Are there anything specific that you would like to state now that certain people might bring to the table? Certain things key things that you need to progress the network, or things that you would really like to see coming in rapidly?
Okay, yes. The answer, if I might sound kind of broad on this, is yes. We want everybody, everything. If you're a writer, if you're a painter, if you're a musician, a producer, if you're a coder, if you're a coder, a programmer, any sort of tech that you feel is a skill that you would want to see if it would benefit the network, I guarantee that any sort of skill at this point will benefit it in some way, and that's the beauty of this network.
We're looking for this initial crowd, this initial 99 people to be sort of the core group that helps build this network, and through their decisions and their concise way of working with one another. I mean, we have questions and answers section that's really precise to achieve results, achieve resolve. Like somebody can ask a question and it can be a series of lines until we come to a result, and it'll be like, what is it most like, the questions and answers?
I think the questions and answers is a lot like Stack Exchange. Like, and there are people, you've probably run across a number of forums where people gain merit for the answers that they're...
Can I just ask a question?
Yeah.
When people join the network, is there kind of like I might have misinterpreted what you were saying, but like some kind of questionnaire where they can be funneled into a certain area, where they have certain skill sets, where they can offer or contribute certain elements to grow the network?
There isn't really any certain questionnaire per se. If you're taking a look at getting on the network and you're, for instance, going to the questions and answers forum, you'll connect with the types of things that interest you or that you're really good at or that you want to.
So it kind of happens naturally. That's just as good.
Yeah, and on that note, there isn't really anything at the onset because it's meant to be a network where you're not really told what to do, and there's not really a lot of funneling capability that's built into it at all. You just kind of get to where you're going, but it's meant to be accessible for you to easily do that. So yeah. It's not very populated right now, I'll tell you, but it will get more and more that way. That's a great question.
It would be really good if it evolved that way, because I've got thousands of people that I know that have various different skill sets, within the coding realm, within the artistic realm. And if there was, I'm not saying that you should engineer something where there's kind of an anal retentive, questionnaire type scenario when people join and then they get funneled into, because that's totally not organic at all. We don't want that. But if it can happen, if it's kind of orchestrated where it can happen naturally, that's even better. That's perfect.
We have a listings as well, which is like, Craigslist, and you can list anything and create any category and a service.
That's perfect.
And so it's, it's really, I think, more just like we just create as many categories and as many searchability as we can, and have it super ease of access. It's right at your fingertips, and then you have
just
people.
One other question while I'm thinking of it: is there, similar to Minds, is there access to be able to go in and change things and do stuff within the network, or is it just a case of just bringing whatever you've got to the table and it just integrates naturally? Or
currently the only rigid thing that we have, and I think Minds actually isn't rigid anymore, but the rigid thing that we have is that you have to have one username with one email, and it's just so that we can make sure that more people are human than robots, essentially.
Right.
And
what I'm getting at is, can people have access to can they change things? Can they do stuff?
Well, and in one respect, I can give you a good example. Like with the advertisements, for example, like Lee was saying, there isn't really a category list built, but it's actually going to be up so that there are certain categories that you'll see that are available. It's the same with the questions and answers network. It's the same with the downloads network, but the same principle applies to all three, and that's this: that if you don't see a category that fits you, you just suggest that. And so it's built sort of on just a framework basis, a skeleton framework, but then the community as a whole has the ability to go in and basically
that's suggest. A great way to put it, a skeleton. We built a skeleton, you guys are the meat.
You guys are the muscle. Something like
I
that.
just wondered how much power people actually had, to sort of like come in and tweak things, change things. I'm not quite sure how the system works in that respect. I don't necessarily think it's a good thing that people can just come in and just have access to everything and change things accordingly, because I was just wondering how the system was set up in that respect.
So we have roles, which are sort of common in a lot of content management systems, and so the roles are based on we decide what those roles are, and there's merits that can be assigned to them, and we can decide what kinds of badges and what levels people get to and where they're at, and based on community votes too. So we can have, it's like karma, it's like digital karma. So each person that does have those kinds of capabilities has earned them and been approved by the community. More of a democratic system. I don't know if it's exactly like politics or anything, but it's the community. The community has to sort of decide the direction, and we can do that based on sort of some structure, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, it's like that spirit of kind of self-organizing, and people just self-organizing themselves. I think too, you give people tools, and I guess like for this first couple people, if they set the tone, things hopefully will start organically developing as they should. But I think these kind of merit system and stuff will be interesting to see how that develops. I think that's kind of one of my more interesting things that I'm mulling around in my mind. But so I think we've done an hour. Anything else anybody wants to kind of finally say or express or whatever, the time is now.
So thank you guys for all that info, and I think other people will benefit from the questions that I asked as a newbie. I'm excited.
I think if there's an option of being able to go in and connect with the others, or connect with the people where you can code and create more stuff and evolve stuff, that's perfect. There doesn't have to be a specific area that you go to that is telling you, oh yeah, you can be a contributory factor to this. If you can just go in and do it and connect with those people, and it can evolve naturally. That's perfect.
Well, thank you guys for having us on the Imaginarium again, and this was a great session, and we appreciate your questions and answers, and hope that it does help people coming on to N99 online and what it's about and why we're doing it.
I hope to be very active on your site. I'm looking forward to telling some people about it. I mostly look for the content creators, as Tori knows. We tend to seek out the people making content in their own media, cool stuff, and it's really nice to be able to have a new site always to tell them about, as people that prefer custom content, and ways to track your content is important when you're making content, right?
Right, yeah. So that's all. It's awesome to meet you, and we look forward to you being on the N99 online.
Yeah, it was great to finally talk to you guys again, and Lee and Holly are the Imaginarium, so anytime you want to do something, we can do it for sure. And it'll be kind of cool too to get Tim in here. Maybe I even ask him to just do like a quick little spiel and mash up something together. I remember a month ago he was talking about working on a video together for N99. I think he's been just busy or whatever, but I'll reach out to him again. But yeah, thanks guys. And definitely
Nikki and Dan.
Yeah, it's nice to hear you guys. Hey, and you're right. You can reach out to us anytime. If you go to n99online.net, you'll see that there are 2 users on there, and their names are Holly and Lee. So we look forward to seeing all you guys there. Satori, thank you so much. And it's great to hear your voice, and Nikki, you as well. And nice to meet you, Missy Nomer.
Thanks, guys.